Before I begin, let me say this. If you've ever had your whole life ripped out from under you, this episode is for you. And a gentle trigger warning, this story deals with betrayal and trauma and may not be suitable for all listeners. Welcome back to Angels and Side Quests, where faith meets the missions you didn't sign up for. I'm your host, Angela Crystal, Christian nonfiction author, community builder, cancer survivor, wife, and mom. And today, we're going into the fire. This is the episode where I tell you what happened when everything I thought was safe and good and forever collapsed in a single afternoon. Let's go back to where the story begins. I met my ex-husband just as I was turning 17. We were high school sweethearts, young, dreamy, full of optimism. We married when I was 20, and by 33, I had 2 small children, a house in an upper middle class neighborhood, 2 cars, and a dog. We were traveling and enjoying little luxuries. There wasn't a single thing we needed that we couldn't afford. I was a stay-at-home mom, homeschooling, cooking, building a life. From the outside, it looked real comfortable, cushy, and blessed. The year was 2020, the pandemic. We were weeks away from hosting our first Thanksgiving in our new home. My dad called and said, "I'm going to bring you guys breakfast. You should get out the house. I'll pick you and the kids up and bring you to our house for a while, and then I'll take you back home." He knew that I'd never skip out on an opportunity to not have to drive. So I got the kids ready, and we all hopped in the car after breakfast. But instead of going to my parents' house, we went to my sister's. And when I walked in, I sent the kids upstairs to go play with their cousins. And sitting around the table was my mom. My sister was scurrying around, and my brother-in-law. And the air was wrong. I sat down and my sister tried to speak. She said my ex-husband's name and collapsed into her husband's arms. My brother-in-law finished the sentence. Something had been done to a child in my family by the man I loved. I stood up from the table, took 8 steps, and collapsed on their living room floor. I wailed, I cried, I prayed, I pounded the floor. God, if you knew this was coming, why didn't you warn me? If the devil ever had his shot at me, this was it. In one sentence, my marriage died. My past died. The life we built evaporated. The man I loved since I was a teenager was dead to me. I never slept in that house again. I took my children and I went to my parents' home with the clothes on our backs. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't breathe without feeling impending doom. And all the while, that man kept calling, texting, begging, and blaming me for his indiscretions, trying to pull me back into a reality that had already burned to the ground. I didn't understand this then, but something wasn't being taken from me. Something was being surgically removed. There is a difference. I didn't lose my life. I lost what had been poisoning it. Even when it feels like destruction, it's deliverance. In my book, The Angels Are Talking, I share an angel named Indio. He once said to me, I have come to ensure that you are in the will of God. It is good to be in the will of our Lord. Indio means God is a willing God, for his will be done. I asked him sarcastically, so when I auditioned for that game show and didn't get picked, that wasn't the will of God? I could have won $1 million. He replied and said, no, his will is greater. Indio is what I call a will keeper, ensuring alignment with God's will, preventing detours that aren't assigned, overriding attractive but misaligned opportunities, and protecting destiny over desire. In my previous episode, The Cost of Knowing, I mentioned all the things that were taken from me. But the angels are just doing their jobs. Consider that some of your biggest disappointments are still a part of God's plan. And consider that that plan is greater than anything you could ever want for yourself. At the time, it sure didn't feel good. I didn't sign up to be a divorcee. I didn't sign up to be a single mom. God was handing me titles I never asked for, side quests I never saw coming. And yet, even in my anger, and even through my rage, God still showed his love. It was shown to me through my loving parents who shielded my kids from so much when parenting felt impossible. God's love showed up through the little nest egg I had from losing my business during the pandemic. It showed up as home-cooked meals from my mom, the late-night prayers of my father, the play dates with my kids' cousins, and room to breathe without judgment. It showed up as support from my sister and her husband and help figuring out the next right thing, especially when she wouldn't let me go to that house and burn it down or torch that car. Can I be real? Come on. I was mad as hell. It showed up as phone calls from my brothers and the prayers of my extended family. I was furious at the man who betrayed me. I felt like for years, God let me sleep next to my enemy. He was, as the kids say, my biggest op. And if I'm honest, I was angry at God too. I barely spoke to him. But early on, in one of the few prayers I whispered, God promised to restore me tenfold. Even though I didn't know what that meant, I held on to it. And after I attended the funeral of the man I thought I knew, he's still alive, but he's in prison. In my mind, that version of him was gone. I realized something incredibly important. That I wasn't the broken one. My love was pure. My intentions were honest. This was my Job season, and restoration was coming. Months later, after I had made it through Thanksgiving and pieced together Christmas with the kids, I began rebuilding. And I made the declaration that I deserve to be loved and my children deserve to see me be loved properly. I refused to turn cold, and I kept my heart open. And in the most unexpected place, I met a man who loves me with a gentleness I didn't know existed, who treats me with the care that feels heaven sent. Daily, he shows me the love of my Father in heaven and is helping undo so much trauma and is actively mending so many broken pieces. I don't play about him, and he don't play about me. And we'll be married 2 years in September. God did restore me. He didn't leave me to crumble and die. He didn't damn me to hell for my human emotions. And after I was done having a fit about everything I lost, he reminded me of how he showed his love to me the whole time, and that he did not betray me. My heart turned back to gratefulness and gratitude to know that I have a Father in heaven who didn't leave me in hell. If you're in the fire right now, listen carefully. You are not being punished. You're being purified and positioned. You are not being buried under the weight of life. You are being planted. And when the smoke clears, You will not look like what you've been through. This has been Angels and Side Quests, where faith meets the missions you didn't sign up for. Until next time, remember how good it is to be in God's will.